as the sun sets. Zambia's bodies of water are as abundant as its wildlife. Although it is landlocked, this country has more water than any other in Africa. There are the long, meandering rivers, some of which are interspersed by waterfalls that are only narrowly surpassed by Vic Falls. Then there are the lakes, from the vast, remote Lake Tanganyika, far in the north of the country, which is one of Africa's Great Lakes, to Lake Kariba, Africa's biggest man-made dam. Kariba is an increasingly popular beach holiday destination that is strangely reminiscent of the French Riviera. Or for the best bath of your life, visit the incredible Kapisha Hot Springs. Another unique aspect of this remarkable country are the Zambians themselves. The country's home to 72 different ethnic groups and languages, all of whom have their own diverse cultural traits and traditions. One thing they do have in common: they are all unfailingly warm and welcoming. Zambians are famous for their very own special brand of hospitality, as well as the pride they take in their Zambian identity. Wherever you go in Zambia, you will meet people who will go out of their way to leave you with a positive impression and make you feel at home. So what are you waiting for? Book your trip now and enjoy the kind of African experience you've always dreamt of. Whatever it is you're looking for, you can always be sure to find it somewhere in Zambia. So let's explore. Zambia. Even saying the word is a multi-sensory experience. It somehow captures something of the essence of this special place in the warm heart of southern Africa. Take in the mighty Zambezi River, the majestic Victoria Falls that form Zambia's natural southern border, and the national parks overflowing with wildlife. Immerse yourself in the fast-growing towns and cities, teeming with history, light, and life. Then visit the vast lakes that seem to touch the stars and engage with a plethora of different ethnic groups, cultures, and languages. Together, they make up the intricately woven fabric of this remarkable country. To visit Zambia is to begin a love affair that will never be exhausted, and unlike any that you have ever experienced before. For all the superlatives that man has used in his attempts to describe Victoria Falls, none are able to do this incredible natural wonder justice. You have to see it for yourself. It is a truly awe-inspiring experience. Livingstone, once Zambia's capital, and the Zambian side of the falls have become a mecca for discerning adventure tourists. Peer into the abyss from Devil's Pool at the edge of the falls. Career down the powerful rapids from Batoka Gorge in a whitewater raft. Bungee jump from the historic Victoria Falls Bridge. Or fly over the falls on a flight of angels. Whatever activity you choose, you'll be left with a renewed appreciation for the sheer might of nature. Kafue National Park is amongst the biggest in Africa and is home to more than 130 species of mammal and more than 400 bird species. Enjoy the wildlife from a different perspective on a boat cruise or a canoeing or walking safari. For sheer density of game, South Luangwa National Park is second to none. It certainly lives up to its nickname as the Valley of the Leopard. The stunning Liuwa Plains play host to the world's second-largest wildebeest migration and boast some of the most striking vistas you will see anywhere in Africa. At Kasanka National Park, you can view the largest mammal migration in the world when each November, literally millions of fruit bats cover the skyline as the sun sets. Zambia's bodies of water are as abundant as its wildlife. Although it is landlocked, this country has more water than any other in Africa. There are the long, meandering rivers, some of which are interspersed by waterfalls that are only narrowly surpassed by Vic Falls. Then there are the lakes, from the vast, remote Lake Tanganyika, far in the north of the country, which is one of Africa's Great Lakes, to Lake Kariba, Africa's biggest man-made dam. Kariba is an increasingly popular beach holiday destination that is strangely reminiscent of the French Riviera. Or for the best bath of your life, visit the incredible Kapisha Hot Springs. Another unique aspect of this remarkable country are the Zambians themselves. The country's home to 72 different ethnic groups and languages, all of whom have their own diverse cultural traits and traditions. One thing they do have in common: they are all unfailingly warm and welcoming. Zambians are famous for their very own special brand of hospitality, as well as the pride they take in their Zambian identity. Wherever you go in Zambia, you will meet people who will go out of their way to leave you with a positive impression and make you feel at home. So what are you waiting for? Book your trip now and enjoy the kind of African experience you've always dreamt of. Whatever it is you're looking for, you can always be sure to find it somewhere in Zambia. So let's explore. Zambia. Even saying the word is a multi-sensory experience. It somehow captures something of the essence of this special place in the warm heart of southern Africa. Take in the mighty Zambezi River, the majestic Victoria Falls that form Zambia's natural southern border, and the national parks overflowing with wildlife. Immerse yourself in the fast-growing towns and cities, teeming with history, light, and life. Then visit the vast lakes that seem to touch the stars and engage with a plethora of different ethnic groups, cultures, and languages. Together, they make up the intricately woven fabric of this remarkable country. To visit Zambia is to begin a love affair that will never be exhausted, and unlike any that you have ever experienced before. For all the superlatives that man has used in his attempts to describe Victoria Falls, none are able to do this incredible natural wonder justice. You have to see it for yourself. It is a truly awe-inspiring experience. Livingstone, once Zambia's capital, and the Zambian side of the falls have become a mecca for discerning adventure tourists. Peer into the abyss from Devil's Pool at the edge of the falls. Career down the powerful rapids from Batoka Gorge in a whitewater raft. Bungee jump from the historic Victoria Falls Bridge. Or fly over the falls on a flight of angels. Whatever activity you choose, you'll be left with a renewed appreciation for the sheer might of nature. Kafue National Park is amongst the biggest in Africa and is home to more than 130 species of mammal and more than 400 bird species. Enjoy the wildlife from a different perspective on a boat cruise or a canoeing or walking safari. For sheer density of game, South Luangwa National Park is second to none. It certainly lives up to its nickname as the Valley of the Leopard. The stunning Liuwa Plains play host to the world's second-largest wildebeest migration and boast some of the most striking vistas you will see anywhere in Africa. At Kasanka National Park, you can view the largest mammal migration in the world when each November, literally millions of fruit bats cover the skyline as the sun sets. Zambia's bodies of water are as abundant as its wildlife. Although it is landlocked, this country has more water than any other in Africa. There are the long, meandering rivers, some of which are interspersed by waterfalls that are only narrowly surpassed by Vic Falls. Then there are the lakes, from the vast, remote Lake Tanganyika, far in the north of the country, which is one of Africa's Great Lakes, to Lake Kariba, Africa's biggest man-made dam. Kariba is an increasingly popular beach holiday destination that is strangely reminiscent of the French Riviera. Or for the best bath of your life, visit the incredible Kapisha Hot Springs. Another unique aspect of this remarkable country are the Zambians themselves. The country's home to 72 different ethnic groups and languages, all of whom have their own diverse cultural traits and traditions. One thing they do have in common: they are all unfailingly warm and welcoming. Zambians are famous for their very own special brand of hospitality, as well as the pride they take in their Zambian identity. Wherever you go in Zambia, you will meet people who will go out of their way to leave you with a positive impression and make you feel at home. So what are you waiting for? Book your trip now and enjoy the kind of African experience you've always dreamt of. Whatever it is you're looking for, you can always be sure to find it somewhere in Zambia. So let's explore. Zambia. Even saying the word is a multi-sensory experience. It somehow captures something of the essence of this special place in the warm heart of southern Africa. Take in the mighty Zambezi River, the majestic Victoria Falls that form Zambia's natural southern border, and the national parks overflowing with wildlife. Immerse yourself in the fast-growing towns and cities, teeming with history, light, and life. Then visit the vast lakes that seem to touch the stars and engage with a plethora of different ethnic groups, cultures, and languages. Together, they make up the intricately woven fabric of this remarkable country. To visit Zambia is to begin a love affair that will never be exhausted, and unlike any that you have ever experienced before. For all the superlatives that man has used in his attempts to describe Victoria Falls, none are able to do this incredible natural wonder justice. You have to see it for yourself. It is a truly awe-inspiring experience. Livingston, once Zambia's capital, and the Zambian side of the falls have become a mecca for discerning adventure tourists. Peer into the abyss from Devil's Pool at the edge of the falls. Career down the powerful rapids from Batoka Gorge in a whitewater raft. Bungee jump from the historic Victoria Falls Bridge. Or fly over the falls on a flight of angels. Whatever activity you choose, you'll be left with a renewed appreciation
about advancing regional cooperation through transboundary conservation and development. And now I'll hand over to my colleague, Madam Masego Mukesi, Acting PS, Minister of Environment and Tourism from the Republic of Botswana. She's going to be the moderator. And we are going to have some reflections from our cooperating partners on regional cooperation on the SADC TFCA. So she will ask them to come, those who are around. They will basically be in front and they will give some remarks in terms of their reflections. So at this particular time, allow me now to call upon my colleague who's going to moderate this. Please, if you can come.
I will request probably to catch up, to maybe spend just about 30 minutes on this session so that we can catch up with the program as well. Here I will call upon three presenters just to reflect on how we have been doing with respect to the support, implementation of the TFCAs. This is a new concept which is very well positioned to yield multiple conservation and climate and other benefits at the landscape. It will assist to deal with green growth, international cooperation, and build on the partnerships that we have already started. And this is an area where the partners, the supporters, will not only be dealing with the support at national level, but will also be dealing with us and supporting us at a regional platform. We therefore continue to face areas of securing sustainable funding for establishing and developing our TFCAs. But this is one of the TFCAs that has been very fortunate because we do have the political support, we have the community support, we have the involvement of our local authorities, though at a minimal, but we need to see how we enhance that. And with that, and of critical importance, our panelists who we are going to call here are not new to the TFCA, but have been working with us for some time, and we feel honored to call upon you to say and give feedback to us and say what is it that we have done best, what is it that we can improve on, and what is it that really surely can assist if we do and change will lend us into a sustainable development and growth. The TFCA has come up with 7 KPAs that they want to achieve. We may wish to reflect on how you can support us as a TFCA to reach and implement the 7 KPAs. With that, let me call the German ambassador to Zambia. Can you welcome her, please? Thank you very much. We may also call upon Christine Leiber, Executive Board Member, KFW. You may have your seat, ma'am. And third, may I call the SADC representative here in the name of Mr. Domingo Cove, responsible for food, agriculture, and natural resources. I will just call upon you to reflect on how we can do things better. What have we done? What is it that we can do better to ensure that the support is there, the TFCA reaches its mandate and its goals? With that, let me start with Dr. Annie. I don't know whether you want to come here or you'll speak from there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, moderator, honorable ministers, dear delegates and invited guests. Please allow me also to adopt the protocols already established this morning. And thank you very much for giving me the floor and allowing me to share some brief remarks on behalf of the German government and to reflect on our regional cooperation in transboundary conservation and development. Germany, maybe against the background of our European experience, of our European integration and what it meant for us and the positive benefits for us, Germany has been very committed to partner also with regional organizations, including with SADC and its member states, supporting regional integration, peace and security, transboundary management and protection of water and natural resources, industrialization, trade and economic growth, and mitigation and adaptation to climate change. One of the priorities of our cooperation and partnership with SADC and the SADC member states has been the support to the SADC transfrontier conservation areas, which had its first pilot activities already in the mid-90s, followed by the creation of TFCAs such as Greater Limpopo, then Malawi, Zambia, TFCA, and of course KAZA, to mention just some of them. Conservation efforts remain key for the future of our planet. I think we all agree on that. 2022 was a crucial year for the global efforts on conservation and protection of biodiversity with the adoption of the Global Biodiversity Framework. The framework paves the way, and now it is time to walk the talk. We believe that effectively managed and well-connected protected areas play a central role in the protection of natural resources and biodiversity. In the end, they benefit not only our planet Earth, but also the livelihoods of the local communities. Let me give you the example of Zambia, the country I am privileged to serve in as German ambassador. Zambia is home to an array of unique wildlife and ecosystems, making it a popular destination for ecotourists and wildlife enthusiasts. And I'm very grateful that during my tenure, I had the opportunity to visit many of Zambia's beautiful national parks and other protected areas. These areas play a crucial role in supporting Zambia's economy at large, as well as creating and sustaining many local jobs. They also promote conservation efforts and thereby help to ensure the long-term sustainability of Zambia's natural resources. And if I speak about Zambia, I'm sure my colleagues based in Windhoek, Luanda, Harare, and Gaborone would say the very same things about conservation areas in their host countries. Our support to the SADC TFCAs have a strong nexus to socio-economic and tourism development, integrated water resource management, climate protection, peace and security, as well as sustainable development in general. The support is therefore cross-sectoral, transboundary, and across multiple stakeholders. Through SADC and KfW, we have committed funds and programs to the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, the Kavango Zambezi TFCA, the Malawi Zambia TFCAs, and complemented by funding through the Legacy Landscape Fund to 3 national parks in the SADC area, the North Luangwa National Park, the Gonarezu National Park, and the Yona National Park. Additionally, German technical cooperation supports Zambia and other countries in the area of strengthening law enforcement and anti-poaching activities, combating illegal wildlife trade, and fostering tourism development, climate change, fight against climate change, as well as the so-called green list certification of protected areas. A good proportion of these programs and interventions in Zambia and in the region is being and will be funded and implemented through the SADC TFCA financing facility, as well as the training facility for wildlife managers and rangers, which we officially launched in a very nice event only yesterday evening. Now, as a member of the European Union, we also partner closely with the relevant EU-funded programs in the region, and to Zambia in particular. And I'm honored to speak today also on behalf of the European Union. Like Germany, the EU has provided long-standing support to TFCAs in Africa. The EU's Nature Africa program tackles biodiversity loss through restoring and protecting a network of protected areas and high-value ecosystem. And at the same time, the program promotes sustainable livelihoods in the surrounding landscapes, hence again connecting conservation and development issues. The Southern Africa region will benefit from 33 million euros from the Nature Africa program. And through a consultative process, 6 TFCAs were selected as key landscapes for conservation and development. Again, it is KAZA, it is MAZA, the Malawi-Zambia TFCA, the Greater Limpopo TFCA, the Chimanimani TFCA, the Kalagadi TFCA, and the Zimbabwe-Mozambique-Zambia TFCA. Concerning KAZA, the EU is currently consulting the member states and the KAZA Secretariat to identify priority actions that will complement already ongoing activities and achieve further impacts for KAZA, the people, and the ecosystems. As you can see, the EU's and Germany's approach to conservation is far more than just protecting ecosystems, habitats, and endangered species. It is a holistic approach. It is about climate change, sustainable development in all its dimensions: economic, social, ecologic, cultural, and political. And as much it is about addressing the loss of biodiversity, and it is about protecting and improving the economics of the countries, the people, and the various sectors involved. Human-wildlife conflict, coexistence, or wildlife economy are not only terms or concepts in papers and polities, but they are realities on the ground. And they pose immense challenges and risks as well as potentials, as all of us can witness when we go on the ground and we hear the voices of the various stakeholders. To find the right balance in our approaches, we keep attaching great importance to close and trusting exchanges with the governments in the regions, with civil society and local communities, as we have done in the past 18 years since when the MOU for KAZA was signed. We have been privileged to work and partner with you in the preparation of the treaty, the establishment of the KAZA Secretariat, the development of the strategic framework documents, which Dr. Nyambe presented to us earlier, the KAZA Symposium in 2016, the State of KAZA report, the KAZA Univisa, a great achievement actually, the KAZA aerial survey, the COVID-19 emergency funding, tourism packages, and last but not least, this KAZA summit. I would like to congratulate Zambia in organizing and holding this first KAZA summit. The summit, with its engagement at various levels, bringing together stakeholders from all 5 KAZA countries and partners, is truly a unique opportunity to both strengthen commitments to the KAZA vision, mission, and ownership at the highest political level, and to share information, exchange experience, and discuss opportunities for cooperation and coordination, so that KAZA can become even more effective, efficient, and relevant, and a success story a story of success, partnership, and development in the region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Finding the right balance. And before I call upon the next speaker to reflect, congratulations, Zambia, for hosting a successful event. In that regard, I will call upon the next speaker, Ms. Christine Leibash, from the the Executive Board Member for KFW. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator. Excellencies, honorable ministers, partners and friends, I'm delighted and privileged to be invited to this KAZA ministers meetings and the heads of states meeting in 2 days. I'm delighted on behalf of the German government and KFW in particular to stand here in front of you and talk about the KAZA. KFW, as has been already mentioned, is a long-standing and trusted partner to the SADC and the KAZA partners. And I don't know how it is about that we as Germany, with all German governments over decades, are so much involved in nature and conservation. Maybe it's because we love forests so much, I don't know. But it has been, as said, it has been that case over long decades and years. And so for us as an organization, as KFW, it's from our working level up to our board and executive board really a matter of our hearts. It has become for me even clearer because I had the chance and the privilege to visit the North Luangwa for 2 days at the beginning of this week. And I feel that way as a board member. It's very, very important from time to really visit and go to the countries and go into the parks and the areas, because then at least you have a chance to better understand what is really going on there, to face the realities, the opportunities and the challenges the people and the conservation areas have. Nevertheless, now we are here today at the summit and we're speaking on it from a higher level. And I think these summits, well, you always have a look back and a look in the future. And I think thanks to all of your support, leadership and guidance, it's quite amazing what has been happening over the last 12 to 18 years. The ambassador mentioned already that we know a lot about the EU process over the decades, and we know how rocky it can be and how there can be ups and downs over the years. But I think it is important for all of us and you as political leaders and us as organizations to still have the ambition, never lose sight of the ambition we all share. Let me mention what we think has been really highlights of the KAZA over the last 12 to 18 years. I think it is new that there were really joint policies implemented, regional master plans, but not only on a high level in terms of strategic thinking, but even if you take alone the elephant summit and the aerial surveys, you understand very much how really it has a foundation and what a difference it makes to think regional and to think that way. Mentioning already has been mentioned the tourist development strategy. Again there, I think we feel it is really, really a major step forward that is not only on a strategic level, but it gets more tangible. For example, with the KAZA branding and marketing initiative, for example, the KAZA bird road that is being established, because that is really then getting tangible and really, again, makes a difference for the countries, for the areas, and for the people. I think we can be proud, you can be proud of that the KAZA Secretariat has been developing in a quite fairly strong secretariat, funded by a lot of the partner states, contributions from everybody. And I think the inclusion of all partner states in the funding is a very, very important step. And all that has been happening. As said, it's always a rocky way if you start to think regional, but it has been on the background of, for example, the COVID, which really, I think, left its traces for all of us, and in particular here in Africa and for the conservation areas. As important as it is to look at the past, it is at least as important to look in the future. What have we learned? What we think is the challenges and the most important topics for the future, for the next, let's say, 10 years. We sense that it is really, really important to have a specific focus on the economic and social development, because conservation can only happen with the people that live there, And I think there it's still a lot to do to make them feel that they benefit from it, that they care for it, and they have a chance to have better lives being involved in the process. It is, and I think that's something which is critical, it is about human and wildlife conflict. I know that this has been discussed already yesterday in the technical meetings, and I think personally it's really a critical point, because we go in the danger of losing some of the successes if there won't be solutions found where we can at least mitigate this conflict in a decent way. Yeah, funding policies and frameworks, financing will remain very, very important. But in particular, when it comes to more tangible initiatives, what I have learned, for example, over the last 2 days is it's really important really to spend more on an integrated and sustainable management on land use plans. And I think that can help to mitigate human-wildlife conflict. It can help to make clear where there are the economic benefits, where there are areas of economic intervention for the people that live in the conservation areas. And I think that's something KAZA can deliver to a lot of regions. Yeah, all that I think can only, when we talk about more tangible measures and explicit instruments, I think it can be only achieved if we're able to establish a strong monitoring and information system, gain more transparency, and take that really to lead our ambitions in the right way. As important, I think it is to have strong communication, accountability, and consultation. And I think this summit here, and thanks to the Zambian government for hosting that and organizing that, I think we all feel during these days here how important it is to have personal conversation and discussions. I think it gives energy, it gives a lot of opportunities to find out the other's positions, it finds ways for solutions. So I think the whole personal touch to it is very important. I'm a strong believer in that individuals can make a difference, and I think for us as leaders this should be a strong momentum and a strong motivation. So I can say only from our part as KfW, we are strongly committed, we will remain strongly committed with the KAZA, with the financing that we have put up for different sources, but not only that, with our commitment, our staff, our personal commitment we are having. And I wish us all that we have a next summit soon, maybe in 2 years, and then can look back at this summit and what has been achieved and the initiatives that have been created here at this very time here in Zambia. And we are very much looking forward to that, and as I said, are strongly committed to be part of that in the future as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We should be thinking of the meetings, what we need to do, the criteria and the conditions for us to qualify for these funding programs. Thank you so much. The commitment we note. At this juncture, may I call upon the SADC representative, Mr. Domingo Cove, responsible for food, agriculture, and natural resources sector, to come and share with us what is it that he has picked in the many years they've been working with this TFCA since its establishment. Thank you.
Thank you, dear moderator. Let me clarify that I'm not partner. The partners are the two representatives, the ambassador and the board member of KfW. I am your servant at the same level as the executive director, Dr. Nyambe. The only difference is that he works for KAZA, and me, I work for 16 member states. So it's the only difference. Because of that, he has spoken everything that I was supposed to be speaking in relation to KAZA. but because they tasked me to be here, I will try to make a difference. I hope I succeed. Otherwise, I ask your indulgence to hear the repetition of what he has said. I do recognize the Honorable Rodney Sikumba, MP, the Minister of Tourism of Zambia, and also I recognize other honorable ministers from Angola, Botswana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe, and also the partners. We have the German Embassy, we have KFW, European Union, World Bank, and others. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Let me thank for this opportunity as your servant from SADC Secretariat to share some few remarks on the occasion of this important gathering, just to indicate that the work that KAZA is doing is not happening by chance. It is a process that you member states started in 1992 in Windhoek, Namibia, when you adopted the SADC Treaty. And it was very clear when you adopted the SADC Treaty, because you have identified as one of the critical areas for your cooperation the environment and natural resources. So it started in 1992, and in fact, it may have started in 1980 when you met in Mulungushi in April 1980, and you established the SHDCC. One of the decisions back then was the establishment of the Regional Development Fund. And today we are talking about financing TFCAs. So it started in 1980, in fact. And when we are talking about natural resources and environment, you have already approved and you are currently implementing a number of legal instruments. It's not just strategies and programs, legal instruments that are binding. Some of them are the Protocol on Wildlife Conservation Law Enforcement, which is the Bible for all the work that we are doing in conservation, including all the details related to KAZA. They are articulated in Protocol of Wildlife Conservation Law Enforcement that you have approved. In addition, we have the Protocol on Forestry. We have the Protocol on Shared Water Courses. We have the Protocol on Environmental Management for Sustainable Development. Unfortunately, it has not yet been into force because we are still lacking some ratification, but it's there. You have the Protocol on Tourism, and you have the Protocol on Fisheries. So these are legal instruments that SADC member states have adopted as part of the regional integration, because you have to have procedures on how you have to engage and what objectives and so on. Everything is very well articulated there. And even if you look into the KAZA Treaty, it's coming from all those legal instruments. For facilitating or operationalizing all these legal instruments, the protocols that I have talked about, you have approved the Transfrontier Conservation Area Program. In 2013, you have revised this program in 2023, and now we have a new revised program, 2023 and 2033, that the ministers approved to operationalize all the legal instruments. And in the TFCA program, you indicate that you aim to develop SADC into a functional and integrated network of TFCAs where natural resources are sustainable, co-managed, and conserved to foster socioeconomic development and regional integration with the aim of benefiting the people, the region, and the world. We are using the conservation as a tool to benefit the people of our region, the people that are in KAZA, and the people of the world. The tourists that are coming here are coming from all the corners of the world, and they are benefiting from the conservation. So the conservation is not the aim or the end. It's just a tool. And I pray that the entire world understands this. The aim is to benefit the people of the region and the people of the world. If I look into the goals of the TFCA program, one of the goals is integrated management of transboundary landscapes and seascapes, is the improved well-being and livelihoods of our communities, is governance, multi-sectoral partnership and regional integration strengthening, is long-term sustainability, sustainable finance of TFCAs, is enhanced skills and capacity development and knowledge management. I just want to remind that in terms of the long-term sustainable financing, member states have established in 2018 the SADC TFCA financing facility. And you were very clear when you approved this. 8% of the funding goes to KAZA, Great Limpopo, and Malawi, Zambia. This is very well recorded, 8% of the funding. And the 20% for other areas, because you recognize the extent or extension of KAZA and Great Limpopo in terms of the geographical scope. So it's very clear, and when we are implementing the TFCA financing facility, we are fully complying with that decision from yourself. For the first 6 years, or what we call the first phase of TFCA, we had put a dream of fundraising 100 million US dollars. With the support of the government of Germany through KfW, we are around 45 million euros. And with the EU joining us in this long walk for our green freedom, they have put 33 million. So we are around 8 million, and I think we are going towards the 100. But the aim is not 100 million. The aim is to secure sustainable funding of TFCAs. That is the aim, which means it's not only the partners that they have to fund, but equally the member state, through any innovative funding mechanism that you will have to find, so that the TFCA is something that is here to stay forever. The TFCA is the brand of SADC, as guided by you, member states. The TFCA financing facility will be integrated in the Regional Development Fund. Those are the discussion and the guidance that you have provided for us. As soon as the Regional Development Fund is established, the TFCA will be one of the facilities. That is part of the sustainability, and I would like to update that the Regional Development Fund is at a very advanced stage of the work that is being supported by the African Development Bank, so that it's quickly operationalized. And then we will also have the TFCA within our structures. And in relation to KAZA, as it was said and is being repeated, and I will repeat with your indulgence, is the largest global TFCA, occupying an area, and now I will change the comparison because most of comparisons are talking about Switzerland, Germany. I have gone also and tried to see what is the area so that at least we can use this power that the region has and is showing for the entire world. So the total area of UK, Portugal, Austria, Denmark, and Netherlands is the KAZA TFCA. If you don't want to use the number, go to France. It's almost the size of France, which is the largest country of Western Europe. So the extension, it's a big commitment. The challenge is a big commitment. And seeing the member states at the highest level through you, honorable ministers and head of state, sitting together, it's something that is not common. So I'm proud to be part of SADC as a citizen, and I think the ministers and the people should be proud for this gigantic work that you are doing throughout the years, but that you are conveying today in Livingstone. To finalize, it's just to indicate that the summit is a testimony of the desire agreed 12 or 13 years ago and led by the highest political actors of the 5 SADC states to closely work together to better manage their natural resources towards a common future, as articulated by the SADC Vision 2050, of a peaceful, inclusive, competitive, middle to high income industrialized region where all citizens enjoy sustainable economic well-being, justice, and freedom. Thank you very much.
What is the size of KAZA? How big is KAZA? So we have the biggest, Transfrontier. We have a TFCA that is the size of France. We have a TFCA that is 520 square kilometers. So what is the size of KAZA? The size of KAZA will only matter when sustainable development is attained, when our local communities have become resilient. We'll talk of the size when we can, as the region, we can self-finance. Then we'll start talking the size. Where we are now, we are at the end of the session, but with your indulgence, Chair, I don't know whether to ask for 2 or 3 reflections or we end the session. Okay, thank you so much. May I just have 2 or 3 reflections on the learnings and reflections that our panelists have just reflected on. What is our take? I'll just have 2, 3 maximum. We are good. I don't see any hand. It means we've had it all, and we are satisfied with your support and the recommendations. With that, may I have, I can't see it with, okay, thank you. Can I have the mic that side? Can I have a mic taken to the lady, please? To there, that side. To Zimbabwe. Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. I want to say all protocols observed. I think from the reflections, what I really have learned is that we are sitting on the biggest, the most unique frontier conservation area in the world, and yet there's very little publicity about it. I would like to advocate that we start telling the world who we are and what we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I can't agree with you more. I believe the upcoming program will surely do justice to that. And I don't know whether you want to reflect on it and give response to it. Okay. Thank you so much. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you so much. You'll respond to that.
Thank you very much, moderator, for taking this particular session. I had promised that we are going to have a cultural ceremony, but we'll do it at the end after the ministers. They do their high-level reflections. So at this particular time, without wasting much time, I'll ask that the honorable ministers from the KAZA region join me in front here so that they can be able to take their seats. So Honorable Marcio de Jesus Lopez Daniel, Minister of Tourism, Angola. Please, sir, if you can be able to stand and come in front. Let's clap for our minister. And then the next to sit is Honorable Nanik Uhemina Makwinja, Honorable Minister of Environment and Tourism, Botswana. Let me also have Honorable Pohamba Shefita, Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Namibia. Then Honorable Stembiso Ginyoni, Minister of Environment, Climate and Wildlife. And then our own Honorable Minister Rodin Sikumba, Minister of Tourism for Zambia. Okay, so at this particular time, I'll be able to moderate with the honorable ministers here for them to be able to look at just the high-level reflections on the issues that has been discussed and what we have presented to them today. Just to report to the honorable ministers as the chair for the technical committee, over the last 2 days, honorable ministers, your committee and the technical teams have been discussing a lot of issues. Just to start with the visioning and the planning of KAZA as a TFCA, we had to do these particular reflections, but also the member states had to discuss our directors in terms of the key processes and stages that happened in the development of the KAZA TFCA. And then from visioning to action, there was this particular presentation which was done to look at the progress and milestones in KAZA as a TFCA. The executive director had to give us this, and then the directors from all our member states had to also look at the reflections. That's the directors in charge of wildlife and also national parks. They had to look at this. But also we had to reflect to say, from the partner states, what has worked and what is not working, because it's important that you actually reflect from the time KAZA started. And it led us also to really check the issues that were raised at the Kasane Summit in 2019, which basically birthed the KAZA Heads of States summit which we are having as the first one here. And many of our colleagues looked at the issues to do with KAZA elephant survey that the ED had talked about, reflections on our membership at CITES and the rules in terms of all the 3 appendices that are there, what we can be able to do and not do, especially related to human-elephant conflict as well, and in terms of trade issues and law enforcement. Then your committee or technical committee looked at the management of KAZA as a TFCA as an integrated transboundary landscape, and we reflected on this in terms of land use and land use planning. How can we involve also our local government at that level? And then we looked at CBNRM, that is to do with community-based natural resource management, and what we are doing and what we can learn from each other. So over the 2 days, the issues of natural capital and cultural heritage, this was also discussed for it to be an inclusive socio-economic development in the eco-region that we are discussing today. And this basically has led to now where we are today, because we've talked about financial sustainability of KAZA, as well as how can we manage KAZA as a single tourism development, where we now, you know that tomorrow there will be a launch of the brand for KAZA, which will happen. So, Honorable Ministers, this is what has led to your meeting today and the issues that have been brought to your attention and reflections that has been done. And communities, as they have been saying, that don't plan for us, plan with us. I've heard those comments being done there. And also we have in our midst, as you know, the ministers in charge of environment, in charge of livestock as well, land. We have various ministers, because all these happen in this, basically the ecosystem. And we have seen that even as we generate power, there were issues of how we affect, the corridors for the fish in the rivers, and how all these issues need to be looked at in an integrated manner. With that said, Honorable Ministers, we have, of course, with yourselves here, to be able to reflect now on the issues that has been given to you. Honorable Ministers, there's only just one question where you basically reflect and give your high-level reflections over the issue. And from what we're saying, that what will it take to further strengthen the KAZA TFCA in terms of governance and development to ensure that conservation and development impact on the ground continues to work for the KAZA member states. So I would go basically in terms of how you are sitting. Honorable Minister from Angola, you can be able to start. Colleagues, for those, if he's going to speak in Portuguese, the translation, I think, is on channel 4, so you can be able to basically put your... Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Dear colleagues, ministers, it's my pleasure to have you here, distinguished guests. Let me start by saying that a lot of things have already been talked during this morning, and I have 3 thoughts that I would like to share in my premier remarks. The one is that, let me start by saying that I think that God have done his part, giving us this piece of land of Kavango's Zambezi region. And according to that, we have a common protected area, a common resources, a common conservation area, common elephants, common rivers, and of course, this common biodiversity demands a common action in terms of the conservation of these natural resources, common action in terms of becoming our region on a premium tourism destination in the world, and common action to impact in the local communities, which is, I consider, the most important. And talking about impacting in the local communities, we have to humbly recognize that SADC region is one of the most safest regions in the continent. That's why therefore, is one of the most desired and desirable region to private direct investment. And talking about the private direct investment, because it's tourism that we are talking about, I think that we have to be more ambitious on this. And the question rises up. When we can consider that we have succeeded in private direct investment attraction, whether it's national or international private direct investment, I think that we have succeeded in private direct investment when the investors choose our individual countries and our region to invest their money. And after choosing, they concretize the investment, because many of times the investment just stay switching off the intentional mode. And talking about intention, the hell is full of intentions. After decide to invest, in my opinion, we can consider that we have succeeded when, after concretizing the investment, the investors decide not to repatriate the revenues, but to reinvest in the consolidation and the expand of the investment. And why I take that long to talk about that? I'll talk about that because I believe that we cannot consider our region and our individual countries developed if our local communities remain poor and undeveloped. And if we're talking about tourism sustainability, and we can consider that sustainability basically means the impact of these private investments have in our local community, in our population, especially in jobs creation. Because if we have one of the biggest unemployment rates in the world, and tourism impact on job creation is arguably, and I would say actually, the most efficient way to impact in a local community, that means that we have to pay a very good attention on tourism investment in order to impact our local community. And for my first remarks, I would to give the one first, is to say that I think the African population, and especially the youngest population among them, are kind of bit tired of consider this continent as a continent with a great potential. Every time we have heard that we have a continent with a great potential. But I think the population wants to see that great potential in their daily life. And I believe that the KAZA project clearly understands the challenge and pragmatically responds efficiently to that challenge. And I thank you for having me for this first remarks.
Thank you, Honorable Marcio, for that reflection. Basically, in terms of how you've connected it to strengthen ourselves in terms of public-private investment, whether it be local or international, and what it ultimately brings to the region in terms of job creation for many of our youths who need that. And he has connected it very well in terms of what we need to do. So that is basically the reflection from our Honorable Minister of Tourism from Angola. Same question again in terms of the reflection goes to Honorable Naniki Uhemina Makwinja, Minister of Tourism or Environment and Tourism for Botswana. Honorable, what is your reflection about KAZA and what you've heard so far from the time you had your meeting?
Don't know if I'm audible. Thank you very much, moderator, for this morning or this afternoon. Now I think we are a bit out of time, but I think it's all for a good cause. Let me just say that I think we have learned a lot from this morning's session. And you talked about governance and development. And in reflecting about that, I just want to take a step back in terms of the protocols that were discussed this morning. In Botswana, we have taken a deliberate stand on governance issues. Since 2019, we have come up with acts, policies, that are trying to consolidate all our efforts to make sure that the KAZA agenda, the TFCA areas, we are actually acting on what the mandate for the 5 countries is supposed to be. I can just start by saying that as we speak, we have a tourism strategy of 2021. In addition to that, we have put in place the master plan to ensure that we do act on what we say. We do have the CBRNM bill that is trying to ensure that, as you are talking about beneficiation to the communities, that indeed we act on and making sure that the communities do participate in the management aspect of our resource, our natural resources. I can say in confidence that not only in confidence, but in reality, we have human wildlife conflict strategy of 2021 as well. You can see that all these governance structures are geared to making sure that we are deliberate, we are systematic, we can measure what we are doing to ensure that we advance the KAZA mandate. We do have an act also, 2022. We call it the Access and Benefit Sharing Biological Diversity Act, to make sure that we are forcing issues where we believe that our communities have to benefit. It becomes law that they must benefit from these natural resources. And we are hoping that these acts and these governance instruments will advance further what has been talked about this morning, to strengthen the KAZA areas in terms of really making sure that we expand on what has already been done. So you can see that from 2019 to date, Botswana has passed, developed strategies, has passed acts to actually support this mission of ensuring cooperation, strengthening cooperation between the SADC countries that are involved in this transfrontier conservation areas, as well as development, making sure that we really get the benefit out of what we are doing. So just to highlight that, at the end of the day, is the governance to ensure that we can evaluate the beneficiation that is to come with the management of our resources. And the additional one, which I think we have not talked about, ladies and gentlemen, which I would want to bring it to the fore, is wildlife trade issues. I think if we are to improve on the development of our people, of our countries, these issues we have to talk about in terms of the wildlife trade issues. So I think it's one area that we are probably shy from talking about, but if we are going to develop our communities, we have to talk about these issues because they do affect us seriously when you talk about sustainable development, when you talk about sustainable management of these resources. We cannot not talk about trade issues surrounding wildlife and everything that goes with it. So I think we need to talk a little bit about that. We also need to talk a little bit about the impact of climate change. And of course, when you look at all these 5 countries, women bear the brunt of climate change, and women are the majority in this, tourism related businesses or careers. So I think it is an opportune time to talk about these issues and not probably not to shy away as such, but to make sure that we are very clear and we have a stand as the brand, because I think as the KAZA brand, we have to make sure that we have a position because we benefit out of wildlife trade. And I think the position of women in terms of being the people that bear the brunt of climate change, that also needs to come in. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for those reflections. Maybe you can just switch off the mic for... So you've heard from Botswana and the issues, I think, Honorable Minister, that you have raised, which also in the technical committee were discussed, issues of trade, ivory stockpiles that are there, and basically what member states go through to be able to trace the stockpiles themselves, to be able just to hoard them in our various countries where we stockpile and ensure that they are secured. All those administrative costs are putting a burden on the resource. And the issues of trade, as you have said, I heard people estimating here that within the region maybe we are keeping around $1 billion worth of stockpiles, and what can we do to advance this particular topic that you have raised to go forward. And Honorable Minister, you've gone through in terms of legislation issues that you've been tackling within Botswana, and also how communities are actually at the center of everything that you are doing. So this will be able to improve the governance and the development, basically to ensure that issues of conservation and development can actually have impact in KAZA. So the same question as I've asked everybody else will now go to our Honorable Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism from Namibia, Honorable Pohamba Chifeta. Your reflections, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Director of these proceedings. And I would like to acknowledge my colleagues, ministers, KAZA, and also other ministers who are here, the Secretariat of KAZA, senior officials who have the team of KAZA, and they are our partners in this development program. I am very much delighted to be here this morning to reflect on our journey of KAZA and also to review and track progress in the establishment of this important transfrontier conservation area. To us, it's important that we take stock on what it takes to further strengthen our transfrontier conservation area, especially in terms of governance and development to ensure conservation and the development impacts on the ground. Today, we can say that I want to thank, of course, our host who has decided to have this summit so that we look at the governance part and also any other areas of development of KAZA, especially looking at the leveraging KAZA as a natural capital and the cultural heritage resources as a catalyst of our socio-economic development of the eco-region. Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, good governance is a critical, very, very critical for the existence of our transfrontier conservation area, especially our initiatives that we have done so far. The quality of governance also, we must know that it affects the management effectiveness and also helps determine the generation and sharing of costs and benefits, and helps to ensure community, political, and also financial support for sound management of our natural resources in the transfrontier conservation area. Through governance, the rights of our communities living in KAZA can be respected within the framework of biodiversity conservation and human rights. Good governance in a transboundary program like this one can provide opportunities for win-win solution for our conservation in the region. In order to strengthen KAZA governance and the development, we should continue to provide political leadership in all matters related to the development and management of KAZA, and to ensure that the ownership of, and the control of KAZA remains with our member countries. We should provide overall policy guidance and also direction on all matters related to our transfrontier conservation development, ranging from stakeholder consultation and engagement to natural resource management, socio-economic matters, immigration, safety and security, and also other matters as appropriate. It is our responsibility as ministers responsible to ensure that KAZA as a transfrontier conservation area is developed as a sustainable conservation and tourism development program from which our partner countries can derive equitable socio-economic benefits while observing the principle of sustainability, accountability, equitability, transparency, and also mutual respect. KAZA should continue to foster transnational collaboration and also cooperation in implementing our ecosystems and the cultural resources management. The ecosystem integrity and also natural ecological processes will be enhanced by harmonizing natural resources management approach and tourism development across our international boundaries. We are all aware that the biological resources of KAZA incorporate the large population of elephant in Africa, especially in the continent and also the world. The area is endowed with an abundance and the diversity of wildlife species that we have that are of considerable economic and ecological value to us all. The plant life is equally phenomenal, some of which are endemic to the Southern African savannas, woodlands, and wetlands. It is very imperative, Honorable Ministers, that any program to promote the conservation of biodiversity must have a positive impact on the standard living of our people, especially the local communities. It is also on the basis of potential presented that by vast wildlife, tourism, and cultural resources in the region, that the 5 member countries, that is Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, should continue to derive equitable returns and significant socio-economic benefits provided we harmonize our conservation policies and the practices and use our shared natural resources prudently. We also need to invest in human capacity development and strengthen our KAZA Secretariat to ensure functional institutional services. We need to invest in setting functional systems at our borders for easy movement of tourists and our citizens. It is therefore important that we invest in infrastructure development, ensure tourism development, build access roads, bridges, airports, communication, and other necessities in the KAZA area. We should remain committed and work together as a team, as well as work together with our local communities so that we strengthen our governance and development of KAZA program. Just a reminder to my fellow ministers here that in order to succeed with conservation of our biodiversity in KAZA, it's a transfrontier conservation area, our programs should always incorporate community-based natural resource management and also sustainable utilization of those resources to the benefit for our local communities who are the current custodians of our natural resources. And, I want to thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies.
Thank you, Honorable. If you can just... You've reflected on many issues that I think you've touched on also in terms of what we need to do as KAZA, beyond just protecting wildlife that roams around freely, but also to ensure that the socio-economic aspects dealing with infrastructure development, connectivity of our countries within KAZA are also dealt with, and the political will that is required as you have elaborately said, that cannot be overemphasized. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that. I'll now go to Honorable Stembiso Nyoni, the Minister of Environment, Climate and Wildlife from our sister Republic of Zimbabwe. We are just in the same region, actually. You just walk past the bridge, you are in Zimbabwe. Honorable Minister, what is your reflection in terms of what it will take for us to be able to strengthen KAZA, TFC, in terms of governance and developmental aspects that will be able to promote as well as development aspects that can have impact in our region? Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. Let me start by really thanking our host minister, Honorable Rodney Sekumba. This is the first time for a long time to have a meeting like this where all the invited ministers attend. Congratulations. And in the case of Zimbabwe, it was not only just me, it was my colleague, because the ministry was split into two. And my colleague minister responsible for tourism and hospitality industry, Honorable Rhodes, was also able to come. This really shows how important our nations take KAZA. I therefore want to join my colleagues in the really need for stakeholder involvement and participation at the grassroots level. Because I think at national level, government level, and state level, it has been demonstrated that KAZA states take this program very, very seriously. The stakeholders should be involved in the planning, implementation, and decision-making processes. Zimbabwe's National Devolution Program affords an opportunity for grassroots participation. Zimbabwe is decentralized, and we have a devolution program. And in that way, we will be able, on day-to-day basis, to be able to involve our grassroots people. There is need to strengthen coordinating structures at local level. The national structures should create an enabling environment to allow establishment of local structures for effective implementation of programs and policies. The district level, local planning level should really be able, therefore, to take KAZA issues to address challenges and create opportunities from the ground up. This will assist in the mainstreaming of transboundary strategies into local development projects and activities, so that it doesn't only remain at high levels. Our people need to participate. There is need for public, private, and development partners to invest in capacity building to empower our local communities. This is why it was really good this morning for us to have our partners also participate in this meeting. There is need to create a conducive environment for wildlife-based tourism business to ensure equitable sharing of benefits among the stakeholders and clearly defined rules and responsibilities for the sustainable management of natural resources in the landscape. As we do this, We need to embrace inclusivity in our approach. We need our programs to support growth and that enhances human well-being, social equity, and shared economic opportunities while reducing environmental risks and ecological scarcity, minimizing inefficient use of natural resources, and maintaining biodiversity, among others. And in my delegation, we also brought high-powered parastatal heads. I have here my Director General from National Parks and my Director General from Environment. That also shows that you can't separate the two. The two have to go together. How we manage our environment and also how we take the welfare of our wildlife. We need to take the resources to the people and develop a code or codes together with them for sharing mechanisms with the communities and all stakeholders. Without inclusion, the governance of TFCAs will be futile. The whole of government approach is essential in the involvement of the key sectors of the KAZA program. The importance of a robust research cannot be overemphasized, considering the emerging issues, including climate change, as this assists in informed decision-making and adaptive management programs. In Zimbabwe, we are making strides to address this, and this will obviously affect the component of KAZA. We are revamping various policies and instruments so as to ensure the inclusion of communities in decision-making and in the overall governance around wildlife. We need to explore innovative options for financing the KAZA programs while we grow the biodiversity economies. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say that one of the key issues is financing mechanism. I believe that we need to ensure we have a financing model that is homegrown and sustainable. We cannot continue to rely on funders alone. We really appreciate them, we thank them, but we need also to stand on our own in the future. We are not going to do so unless we unite, we have a common goal, and we work together. On the part of Zimbabwe, we are committed to do our begging. We have enough resources, ladies and gentlemen. We have enough brain power to make an indelible contribution all round KAZA, including financing ourselves. As my colleague from Zimbabwe said, Honorable Rodzi, this morning, she said, together we can do it. All we need is to unite so that the programs of Angola become the tourist programs of Botswana, they become the tourist programs of Zambia, they become the tourist programs of Zimbabwe, they become the tourist programs of Namibia and all of us. And if we put our heads together we can make a phenomenal KAZA program that manages even to finance itself. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I can feel a mother's heart from the way she's basically narrating everything, and to bring all of us as a region together, and through collaboration we can do much more. And as he has summarized it, we have to look at the future and the sustainability of KAZA, and how, as member states within the region, we can make sure that we sustain it financially as member states, but also focusing on communities so that the beneficiation can go beyond just what we are protecting, but also to make a difference in the livelihoods of our people. And the issues of connectivity have been re-emphasized, issues of access to make sure that the countries are able to interconnect, because it's transboundary. And the realization of transboundary can only be achieved if we go in that particular line. Last but not the least, I would like now the host minister, who's our Honorable Minister of Tourism for Zambia, Honorable Rodin Malindi Sikumba, to be able to wrap it up as well in terms of what his thoughts are about KAZA and what he has heard from morning, from the time they came in, and the reflections that they had at the press first of all before they even came here. But with our presentation and the technical aspect in brief that our Executive Director has actually presented to you as ministers for your meeting as KAZA TFCA coordinating ministers. Honorable Minister, what can you also say in terms of what do we need to do to further strengthen KAZA TFCA governance and issues of development and conservation, to make sure that it has impact within the region and with the communities who interact with our wildlife? And as they have said, there are more also other ministries we have to really coordinate very well for those that are looking at land, environment, natural resources, mining. Everything else, I think, is within the landscape of KAZA. And the resources are there, the brain power you've heard, it is there. The political will that you've met as ministers, all of you from the KAZA countries, it's a testimony that you really are committed to this cause. Honorable Minister, your reflections.
Thank you very much, Moderator. They always say saving the best for last, but the reason why I'm chair is I allocated what the ministers were going to speak, so I will adopt their reflections as my own. But on a more serious note, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank my colleague ministers. I think Minister Nyoni couldn't have said it any better. It's not all the time that you can get respective ministers in one meeting for more than a day to deliberate on matters of governance, to deliberate matters of development in our respective countries, and also even extending the technocrats. I've heard we have high-powered delegations of technocrats in here together with the partners. It's something that we don't take lightly, and I want to just congratulate you for having made it to this meeting. But also to just take a swipe at SADC. You know, KAZA, for some reason, we always have consensus, and it's amazing how, even our virtual meeting that we had not so long ago, when things are presented to ourselves, we don't talk much. And Mr. Govi, I don't know where you are, but I think it's something that we actually need to work around, and why we just need to ensure as regional bodies, we're talking about Africa Confederation Trade Agreement, we're talking about COMESA, we're talking about SADC, and then obviously our small little baby, which is a big Transfrontier Conservation Area, KAZA. It's important that as Africa, we toe the line. We speak one language, and this is exactly what my colleague ministers have been talking about for a very long time. And I think there are certain times when I just imagine how beautiful it would be that all of us African countries are just speaking one language. Now, just to get into the grasp of things, we have seen that we can only strengthen KAZA if political will is there. This is evidenced. In the next few days, tomorrow, the other day, we're going to have our heads of state mirroring what we're doing here. That's political will, and I think as KAZA, we're going to continue with that. But the critical aspect that we always talk about is community beneficiation. The natural resources, and this particular theme that was coined by you, our colleagues, the technocrats, could not have been any better, because we're talking about the natural capital account that we have. We're talking about the heritage, and as well as looking at the ecosystem itself. The communities, as I had mentioned earlier in my opening remarks, are the ones who are supposed to benefit. Their opportunity cost of being moved from these protected areas was as a result of us having to protect them for posterity. Now, in the absence of where we've moved them, it's very important that we strengthen capabilities for those communities. And herein comes the pressures of growing population. I'll give an example of Zambia. We're sitting at about 20 million. I'm sure Angola is about 35 million. Botswana, maybe about 1.5, 2.5 thereabout. Populations are growing. The demand for land is growing. Resources is growing. So they're now getting to threaten our park boundaries, our protected areas. What is it that we're going to do to ensure that these communities are capacitated so that they found alternative livelihoods? And this is an issue that obviously was discussed, I believe, with the technocrats, looking at issues of alternative land use so that we do not degrade our ecosystems. And I did believe that within those communities, we have water, we have forests, we have minerals, and wildlife. Now, how best are we going to create a balance in those particular areas that our communities benefit? And that is the reason why a very, very, I probably want to call it controversial discussion comes to the fore, the elephant in the room, on how best we're going to sustainably harvest our wildlife, how sustainably we're going to sell our stockpile of ivory. We've just learned during your technical meetings that the cumulative figure that we're talking about in all the 5 countries, close to $1 billion. You can only imagine how much of that 1 billion can go towards managing our natural resources. And I must also indicate to most of the people who may not know that some of this stockpile that we have is actually indexed. Some of it is out of natural mortality. Some of it is out of human-wildlife conflict. Some of it is actually obviously issues confiscated from poachers. And we can actually trace it back to the various landscapes that it's from, which we can take it back to the communities and as well as make it available to manage those natural resources. So those are some of the tough discussions that we need to have, which we need to present to our heads of state. That is strengthening KAZA. Now, in the aspect of having to strengthen KAZA, we have our partners who are actually working in our landscapes. Very, very thankful to you. But like Minister Nyoni mentioned, what is key is it needs to be sustainable. If you're going to plow in $1 million today, you should not continue plowing in $1 million after 2 years. It should be a reducing figure. Why? Because you're creating sustainability in your financing model, rather than having to be plowing $1 million each and every year. And what we've done in Zambia with our collaborative management partners is to actually aid their support in the various landscapes, where if you're going to put in $20 million, it has to be reducing, not necessarily at a fast rate, but obviously telling us exactly how sustainable the landscape is becoming in terms of law enforcement as well as conservation. So those are some of the discussions that I strongly feel we need to have, and that is exactly how we're going to strengthen KAZA. And more so, ladies and gentlemen, the buzzword, something which obviously none in the world. I asked a question at one point when I was attending some environment meeting, carbon trading. I don't think there's any country, I stand to be corrected though, that has actually put in legislation in carbon trading. What is good carbon? What is bad carbon? Because of us having a big transfrontier conservation area, it gives us an opportunity to now showcase how best we can now calculate carbon. And I can guarantee you that when our heads of state come in, those are some of the discussions that we're going to have, where you, the big guns who are sitting in here, should be able to tell us, so that if this particular person who's trading in carbon would come to Zambia, we'll tell him this is the price. When they go to Zimbabwe, the same price that applies in Zimbabwe is the same price that applies in Zambia, Botswana, Angola, Zimbabwe, and everywhere else. And that is how we want to couch it within the KAZA region. And we're definitely going to moot it, and we want the support of SADC, we want the support of COMESA, we also want the support of the AU, so that anybody who's going to come in our landscape, I don't want to call it with a briefcase, but with an idea of having to offset carbon. My colleague Minister of Green Economy and Environment is here, would agree with me that we're trying to wrap our heads around on how we can create proper legislation which is to do with carbon. Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that within our landscape also, and with the looming food crisis, most of us may not see it, but I think it's coming, and I did touch on it much, much earlier when I was making my remarks. Just 2 weeks ago, the SADC heads of state met to discuss, among other things, the El Nino. And the drought itself has been declared in most of the SADC countries. And that in itself has put in a big threat on how we can actually manage our water resource. And in this case, I'll give an example of Zambia. We had planted in excess of about 2.2 million hectares of grain for 2022, 2023, 2023, 2024 farming season. Close to 1 million hectares of that was lost, which simply means that it put a threat on our food security. Now, that is not only in Zambia, but this obviously cuts across other SADC countries. If agriculture fails, we have energy deficiency. We can't run the mines. In Zambia today, we're talking about having close to 3 million metric tons, probably by 2031 or thereabout. But with the energy deficiency, that obviously is not there. So which leaves us, ministers in charge of environment and tourism, to see how best now we could create that financing gap and push an agenda to making sure that we utilize, we sweat that natural capital asset that we have, which obviously resides within our area. Now, that is, for me, is an indication that we have an opportunity, probably for the next 2 years, to be the big boys, to step up and be able to create value within our ministries, as it were. So I strongly feel that we have an opportunity to work very well with our partners. I was happy that we have our board member from the KFW who have been our all-weather friends. Thank you very much. And all the other partners who are in here, I might not single you out. But I think what is very, very critical for us within the KAZA region, and I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues, is that as we get to partner, my peers did mention, don't plan for us, plan with us. Sometimes we rub ourselves in different ways purely because projects that you'd want to do are feel good for you, when in actual sense they do not work for us. And it's actually very right that we now sit around the table, and that's the reason why I'll give an example yet again from Zambia, that we've created a dialogue forum where we can sit around the table and agree on certain things. I think there's nothing that cannot be achieved around a dialogue table. I like to call it a deal room. Every opportunity that you can have to create a deal room, even negotiating with having partners in a room, is a deal that you can be able to structure. And I would like to just encourage you, the partners, not to tire. We as KAZA are trying to create something which I strongly feel is a good thing. It's something that we strongly feel is going to be sustainable. But as my colleagues mentioned, in summary, that as you support us, we should be able to now start running on our own, as opposed to being, obviously, as women would always say, at some point, a child is weaned off the mother's breast. There has to be a point where we're going to be weaned off and we're able to run on our own. So, Moderator, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sikumba. He's touched on a lot of other points as well, which is an example basically of how we need to work together, we need to collaborate in an integrated manner and be able to solve the problems that we have in our midst as a country and the things that we need to solve as we go on, and the element of sustainability as well and how we move forward if that time comes when our partners will say we've been funding you or we are slowing down, because he's basically looking at how the world has actually been transitioning from one era to the other. You'll find that those that have been funding also have got their own challenges within their countries. So it's time for Africa to be able to basically position itself very well as we go on with this KAZA agenda. And there are so many other aspects that he's talked about which is related to other ministries as well. He touched on issues of carbon sequestration and how carbon trading or carbon credits are actually being done within the region, that we need to have a unified approach as countries so that those who are coming, it's one price basically wherever you go, or there are no issues to compete based on price, but to ensure that our landscape is protected very well. So I thought that that is quite good. I seek your indulgence, Honorable Ministers, looking at the time, the way we are. You were supposed to actually have a closed session immediately, but I think we'll be able to ask you to have lunch. Then after lunch, you basically come, which will be a closed session. The closed session will just be for the technical teams, the COSO, the ministers, and other ministers that they have actually asked. And a few, basically, I think the executive director will be able to point out that. And this closed session is basically for us at technical level to summarize all the issues that we have done, to present them to the ministers in a closed session so that they can be able to reflect on them and be able to also give guidance based on what we are going to say. The way KAZA is structured, normally we have the technical meetings which are structured where we take issues from the technical teams, and then as permanent secretaries, which we get from our directors at that level, which we call COSO, and then the ministers in their structured meetings, they will deliberate about those issues where they need to make decisions that are affecting basically within KAZA and policy direction. They will be able to do it at that particular meeting. So this one is very strategic. It's the first ever Heads of State Summit that is happening, and we just needed that they reflect on the journey of KAZA, where we've come from and where we are, and also set an agenda of where we need to be with our cooperating partners as well, to look at what they have been doing in the past, where we are, and to paint in terms of their commitment for the future. So that's the way we'll do it. But before I send people for lunch, we just want to showcase our culture, in terms of a dance, just to kill the monotony before they send you for lunch. So my colleagues from Department of Culture and Traditional Affairs, can we prepare the team so that they can be able to give us a piece of entertainment from culture? And then after that, you've been given the coupons for lunch. Our ushers will basically show you where you are going to be fed from. And after that, as I've said, we'll ask the ministers and the technical team to come back in a closed session. For our colleagues, it will be a free afternoon, I guess. My team in Livingstone, they are showing you also that maybe you can jive a little bit in the evenings. For those that have the energy, they were promoting basically what will happen in the evening at one of the clubs. So Livingstone, if you want entertainment, it's also one of the areas. So colleagues, just give us some piece of entertainment from culture, just one, and then we'll be able to go for lunch. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the dance is from a province where I come from, actually. The likishi, we call him likishi lya mwana pwebu, meaning a woman likishi. So okay, so I have some just a few announcements here. Delegates will be ushered according to seniority, so please remain in the room when we ask that you now go for lunch. But Honorable Ministers, I will ask our Executive Director, immediately I finish, to talk, so that he can be able to give us basically a synopsis of tomorrow's program. He will do an announcement what happens in terms of tomorrow's program. But this dance that you are able to see, I'm sure you know that within Africa, from the north, people start to dance using their heads and their shoulders. As you come, you know, from Nigeria, they will do like this. But as you come down around Congo Basin, Central, we start to use our waist. You know, we show you how to wiggle our waist. And then as you go down south, they show you the feet, isn't it? That's how we dance in Africa. So it comes from north, then it goes to south. So that's how unique Africa is. And we also express in our dance in terms of the continent of Africa where we are actually. If we are somewhere in the north there, we start showing you that this is our position. So, Executive Director, you can come and do an announcement for tomorrow's program, and just also let me take up an opportunity as you come to thank my team. I will not thank them enough, but as you know, Honorable Minister, to have a summit like this, it has not been easy in terms of planning, making sure that everything is going well. For the logistics, maybe if there are any areas where we've fallen short, we can only learn from those so that we do better. And since we are integrated as our colleagues, which will do another summit, maybe that will come at a later stage, depending on how the heads of state will agree as well. Please bear with us on that. But we've put some of our partners who have sponsored us. I can look at this particular thing. There's Africa Parks, of course, the German through KFW, the sponsorship EU, GIZ, IFO, Zanaco, Panthera, and many other, the Nature Conservancy. So a lot of our partners that have made it possible financially that we can be able to hold this summit successfully. So we thank you, and I would like now to ask our Executive Director to just give us a few remarks and also direct to the ministers, and when he finishes, as I've announced, in terms of seniority, we can be able to be ushered to go and have our lunch. And then we'll come now for the closed session.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. Perhaps before I make the announcement, just to thank the Honorable Ministers. We are feeling very encouraged as your technical people for this rare opportunity. Indeed, as Honorable Nyoni observed, it's not always the case that we have a full house, so we're very grateful. But allow me to say something, and this is really a unique opportunity at which I should say it. The peace that we're enjoying in Southern Africa, sometimes we forget that it is actually very much linked to KAZA. Now, I just want to make this point. For those of you that know about the Battle of Quito Canaveral in Angola, please go and visit the museum. Angola is doing great in opening up for tourism. You will appreciate the things we take for granted. Now, Honorable Minister, you've talked about a deal, what did you say? A deal room. Yes, we want to just make sure that we walk the talk. For tomorrow, we had proposed that we're going to have 3 sessions, but following the deliberations, the one session with international cooperating partners, we thought that it should fall off, given the very rich feedback we've received. However, there is going to be 2 sessions. One is related to our implementing partners. When I spoke earlier, we shared with you some of the principles around partnership in the KAZA Treaty. And we do have a number of implementation partners. Would like to really give you an opportunity from about 8 to about 10 hours to engage and deep dive in terms of what you really want to do. How can we co-create initiatives that will have lasting impact? Then after that, around 10:30 tomorrow, for about an hour and a half or so, a lot of you have been asking about the KAZA area survey. It's an opportunity to come and engage and learn more about the survey and what next steps are being followed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, colleagues, I think we can be ushered, when we go out there, they will be able to show us where we are having our lunch. It's now time to go and have lunch. And then Secretariat Executive Director, as I've mentioned, that will come back. The ministers will be here, and their counterpart ministers that they have invited. The technical team will be able to come back as well. The permanent secretaries from various countries and institutions that are here, you'll be able to come as well with your teams so that we can actually have a closed session with the ministers. Thank you very much. Let's go and enjoy our lunch.
Hello everyone. For those that have been invited to the launch, please note that it will be at 16:30. Thank you.
Destination Botswana.